Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video here. Today I'm going to be discussing all of the Golden Age zombie maps, ranked based on what I like. So this is basically this Call of Duty Zombies maps, so the Treyarch games, specifically World at War, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 2. So I consider those the three Golden Age Zombies maps, since everything basically after Black Ops 2 was pretty garbage. Both in terms of Treyarch and all Call of Duty games in general. So I'm not going to be counting any of those zombies maps, so I'm going to be just be going over these 20. This does include DLCs, and I have ranked them based on my own personal preferences. So obviously this isn't factual or anything like this. This is just what I personally enjoy. And I've ranked them based on a few different metrics. So I ranked them based on the challenge. I don't want it to be too challenging or too easy. Size, I prefer smaller map sizes versus the larger ones. So I've kind of weighted them more towards smaller sizes. Some features, so this could include the different guns, or if it like has a pack-a-punch, or if it has different perks, what kind of perks there are, if they're good or bad, stuff like that. And then the visuals, if it's just like visually appealing, if the map makes sense, if it's a good area for a zombies map, stuff like that. So those are primarily the four features that I'm ranking these maps based off of. And I do want to say I'm not ranking based off nostalgia. So I'm trying hard to put that aside. Obviously, we all have different nostalgia for different maps. So I'm trying not to have those in my decisions for my ranks. So nostalgia aside, I just want to do it as kind of objectively of the maps as I can based on my own personal preferences. I'm also going to do it in reverse order, so I'm going to start with my least favorite map. I'm going to explain Moon, which I think is a trash map, and then go up the list, I should say, and then end with my favorite map of all time, which is Buried. And I'll explain that because obviously it's not a lot of people's favorite map, but it is mine, so I'll go through that in detail. I've done a couple dry runs of this, so I want to make sure this is a kind of a quicker video than I had been. I think I was talking about it for over an hour in one of the dry runs, so I'm going to try and go through this a little quicker than what I did when I was practicing. So starting out with Moon, I do not like Moon, all right? Moon is a very bad map. It was the last DLC to Black Ops 1. And this map pack came with Moon, the new map, and then 4 of the classic World at War Zombies maps, all 4 of them. It came with Nacht, Verrückt, Shi No Numa, and Riese. So it came with 5 Zombies maps. 4 of them were old ones that were remastered for Black Ops 1, and then Moon was the new one that was brand new to us. And Moon was quite a letdown. I will say that kind of some of the main things in Moon that I didn't like were the starting room. So the starting room was really difficult, I think, for a lot of players. I remember first playing the map and we didn't know exactly what the first room was for, since it really wasn't part of the map. Like, the zombies would start slow, they were one knife, and then they would all of a sudden get a lot of health, a lot of speed, and they would just kill you like instantly, and you didn't have jug or anything. So that was all in the starting room of Moon, and I think that was very difficult. And then especially when you're playing with random, so basically you had to go on the portal, the teleporter, to get from the Earth to the Moon area where it was zero gravity, which was the main part of the zombies map. But to do that, every player in the game had to stand on that teleporter. So when playing with randoms, it was nearly impossible to get everyone on there at the same time, since there might be just one kid who doesn't have a mic or something who is down there in the main area just like knifing zombies, and all 3 of us, of the other players, were waiting for him and yelling at him to get on the teleporter so you can all go to the Moon area. But so playing with randoms was basically impossible. And even when you played with friends, it's like you would have quite frequently like disagreements on if you wanted to stay in the area, try and get up some points, try and kill some zombies. But then hellhounds would spawn too, like pretty early on. So you didn't have a lot of time, and you had to go to the teleporter pretty quick. So you pretty much had to play with friends if you wanted to get anywhere close to after the primary Earth area to actually go to the Moon. So right off the bat, I didn't like that aspect of it. The wonder weapon I thought was also pretty weird. It was a wave gun in that game, so I'm glad they didn't bring it like to Black Ops 2 or anything like that. But basically, the gun made the zombies. It was powerful and it was a good gun, but it made them like puff up and then kind of like explode, and there was like a high pitched noise at the end. It just didn't really make much sense to me to have the wave gun in there. But I liked how you can also like split it into dualies, although the dualies only killed 1 zombie per bullet, so they didn't have any splash damage. Like, they kind of looked like ray guns, so you thought it would be like really powerful or something, but they weren't that powerful. But it was nice to have that other option to switch it from the wave gun to those dualies to at least have something else. So I guess that was a decent aspect. Hacker, so the hacker utility was the alternative to the PED. So you could either have the PED mask, which made you able to breathe oxygen throughout the zero oxygen areas, so it was an oxygen mask. Or you could use the hacker, which you had to give up your oxygen mask for, but you could do things like hack doors, hack wall weapons to make them cheaper. The doors would be cheaper. You could do so many different things with the hacker, but the issue was that most of the map you had to use a PED for to breathe in the oxygen, otherwise you would die without it. So that being said, I almost never got to use the hacker because I had to use the PED mask all the time. So you could only use the hacker in a very few areas, or you had to like airtight the room, which I thought was so annoying. So basically, hacker was a really cool concept, but I just never got to use it because you need the oxygen mask instead. I really hated the first room also how Jug was 50-50. So either Jug would fall down or Speed Cola would fall down. Speed Cola fell down, then you had to redo the whole cycle, go back to the earth, and hope Jug would fall down the next time. So the fact that you aren't even guaranteed to even get a chance at Jug when you go back to the earth was really annoying, and I didn't think they should have done that. Also, the astronaut. So the astronaut, the one that chose a random person on your friends list to have their name, and then they had like a bunch of health on them, and then they would grab you. They would be really slow, luckily, but they would grab you and then steal a perk and teleport you to a random place while you're red screened. So that is the astronaut in the game, and that's like the boss character or whatever. Was really annoying. Like, why did he have to steal a perk? I don't get it. Like, and especially since Moon has a lot of like tight corridors, you would randomly just go around a wall. You wouldn't know what was around that wall ahead of time, so you could easily run into him. He'd just grab you, steal a perk, and then boom, you had to try and re-get that perk again. So I thought that was a really annoying aspect of the game, and it would take so many bullets to kill him, and then he would like spawn in 2 rounds later or something like that. So really hated that astronaut. It's just another annoying aspect of the map. I think the only good thing about Moon, in my opinion, was like the low gravity in the biodomes area, where you could use those like jump pads, and then you'd go flying with the zero gravity. Is kind of cool to float really high up and see all the zombies below. Maybe like shoot some bullets or throw some grenades while you're up there. So that was kind of fun to like jump around on those things in zero gravity. But everything else pretty much about the map I really did not like. So that's why I'm ranking Moon number 20 of all these maps, and it was my definitely my last map of all of the Golden Age zombie maps. But getting into number 19, Shi No Numa, also a bad map in my opinion. So the map was too spread out. So there was the main outpost area in the middle, and then there was like a branch on each of the maps, like where it would like spread out into 4 different branches, and each of those branches had, I believe, its own perk. And the map was just so big because of this setup, and there was water in between the maps, so you would have to slow down if you're getting from one area to another. So if like you're over here, and then here's the outpost, and then your friend goes down over here, it's like you have to run across the whole map. You have to go through this water, go through the outpost, go through this water, just to get to him. And a lot of times he would die before you even got to him. So map, was, in my opinion, was way too spread out, and the water would slow you down, so you couldn't even like get to the different parts too fast. They did add a zip line to the map, but it was like 1,500 points. It took you like 50 feet. The zip line was like a joke and super expensive. So I don't know what they were thinking there, but they definitely should not have put that in, or made it like 100 points to use instead of 1,500. It was way too expensive. So just another thing that I think they messed up that map for. There was no really good place to train or camp. I'd say by the Flogger is like my favorite area to train zombies. Then you could like use the Flogger as well. I think it was 750 points, so not too expensive, and that trap pretty much sent the zombies flying. But I think that was like pretty much the only good place to train on that whole map. So if you have a squad of 4 people, it's like you're gonna be in your own little sections over there, and if someone dies, good luck having the other people get them. Especially with all the zombies running towards you, it's a pretty bad situation. So yeah, just being so spread out and having not many places to train was a really annoying aspect of that map. I would say some of the big innovations they got right were the Wunderwaffe and Hellhounds. So Hellhounds weren't in Verrückt, the previous zombie map, so those were new to Shi No Numa. And then the Wunderwaffe, obviously an iconic gun that was brought back into some other maps, was pretty cool to use. And then seeing all the zombies kind of get electrified and die pretty much immediately was really cool. So I did like that about the map, but other than that, the actual map itself, I think Shi No Numa was pretty bad. Moving on to 18, so Die Rise. This is the first Black Ops 2 map on the list. This was the first map pack, the first DLC for Black Ops 2. I think this was a complete disaster of a map. So it was just, first of all, visually unappealing. So it was like a upside down type of area. It was like a building that was upside down, and there were desks like on the ceiling then, and there were papers everywhere. I think there was like an earthquake. I don't know too much behind the map or why it was like that, but it was just like a lot of tight corridors, and you had to jump from building to building. You could die really easily when you're jumping, so I just hated that aspect of it. Then also the perks system were in like elevators that would randomly go up and down, and sometimes you would see Jug and then it would just go away for like a round or two, and then you would have to wait for it to come back to get Jug. So I thought that was really inconsistent, and kind of like Moon, where it was like randomized for Jug. Like you wouldn't always have access to it, and a perk as necessary as Jug for like all Zombies players. I think that perk should be somewhere on the map that is always pretty much accessible to players, and you shouldn't have to wait around or a specific amount of time or do something else to unlock Jug. So I think that was pretty dumb that they put that in there. And then I didn't like the Soliquifier either. So the Soliquifier was a buildable weapon for the map that I think only one player could use. Just didn't really make sense. So like you would shoot the ground, and there would be this like goo that the zombies would slip on and die. It's like, okay, that makes zero sense for a zombies game. I mean, it was powerful. I'm not saying like it was a bad gun or anything, but it was just weird how the zombies would, slip and then be vaporized by it. Didn't make any sense. Then you would also slip, so you could jump on it, and then since there were a lot of places to die if you weren't careful and you were shooting it kind of sporadically, you could literally slide right off the map, which I know I've done a few times with that gun. So I thought that was kind of a weird gun to add to the map. But I will say they really had a great idea with the AN-94 and adding that to the map for the first time. So AN-94 is a weapon in multiplayer. It's one of the best weapons in multiplayer, and they brought it to Zombies with this map pack, and it is absolutely insane. It has a ton of ammo. It has like 300 different excess bullets in the capacity that you can use. I think it's a $1,500 wall weapon, so it's not the cheapest, but it's definitely worth it for that much ammo that you're getting and how good it is. And it's an AR, so you can run relatively fast with it. It doesn't like weigh you down or anything like that. So adding the AN-94 in the map, I think, was one of the only really good things about the map, in my opinion. So overall, that's pretty trash map. Coming in at number 17, I wasn't even sure if I should add this to the list, but I thought it was technically its own map, so I did. It's Dead Ops Arcade from Black Ops 1. So this was kind of like an Easter egg of a map. It's a third-person bird's eye view type of game mode, but it is technically zombies, so that's why I'm adding it. But I thought it was decent. So I really didn't play Dead Ops Arcade much when I had Black Ops 2 back in the day, which I really regret. So I played it a few times with my friends. Before I even had an Xbox, I would go over to their house, and then we would play it. Since we would play it on, we would play 4-person on one Xbox, and you couldn't do that on the other Zombies map since split screen was only 2 players, but this wasn't technically split screen since it was just one screen for everyone, so you could play up to 4 players on this. So we played Dead Ops quite a few times for that reason, so we could all play at the same time versus splitting 2 and 2 since it was 4 of us in total. And it was kind of fun back then. Obviously, it wasn't as fun as like Kino or 5 or the other maps that were out. Those were the other 2 that were out at the time. But to take a break from Kino and 5 and play Dead Ops, it was a nice change in pace, especially since I didn't play multiplayer back then. It was good to see Dead Ops as an available option there. It wasn't super fun. It wasn't something I would want to play for hours like I would other maps, but I can't say it was like terrible either. So I just thought I'd rank it 17 on this list here. Coming in at 16, I gotta say Transit. Transit, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Transit. First of all, it was a huge map. Remember when Black Ops 2 didn't come out yet, and they were initially saying it was going to be like a zombies campaign? Yeah, like what? That obviously didn't happen. It's nothing close to a campaign, so I don't know what that was all about, but the map was just too big, and the whole bus system where it had to like go around, and if you missed the bus or you had to wait for it to come back, it was like a 10-15 minute rotation. So if you got stuck at a specific area and you miss a bus with your team or whatever, you'd have to stay there, and a lot of the different places in Transit did not have guns, so you'd either have to go through the fog, have denizens come on you, which is like a 5-knife hit to get one off, while zombies are chasing you. So you'd either have to do this or use the teleporter system, which is also really hard, and you could teleport to like some random places, and if you don't know the map really well, the teleporter system is really dangerous, and you can easily go down when using that system. So you're pretty much stuck at whatever location you were stuck at if you missed the bus, unless you wanted to risk going out into the fog, which isn't a good idea. So that was really annoying about transit. Opening up Pack-a-Punch was also a pain, so you had to basically go to the power, drop a turbine in a specific spot, hope the turbine doesn't break, and hope zombies don't get to it, and then go all the way to town. And if the turbine's still alive, then Pack-a-Punch will be open. So without doing that, you can't open Pack-a-Punch, which is really annoying. So the best strategy there is just like have one person, if you're playing multiple people in one game, have one person stay back, take one for the team, just drop the turbine and power once everyone else is at town and ready to Pack-a-Punch, and then have them just stay there the whole time until they needed to Pack-a-Punch. And then the other person who dropped the turbine and power can go in Pack-a-Punch if they want. But I just thought that whole system was really annoying, and especially if you're playing solo, it's a lot, or two player or something, it's a lot harder to open it up when you don't have a full team, since someone has to stay behind, or you have to risk just leaving a turbine there and hoping it will stay open once you get to town. So didn't like that. And then, like I said before, the fog was really annoying. Being such a big map, if you dropped somewhere, if you went down somewhere and then your team was elsewhere on the map, you may as well just give up at that point. They're not saving you. It's way too big for that, and they're just not going to be able to get to you in time no matter what. So you pretty much have to stay with your team the whole time, and if you get separated from them and you go down, it's GG for you. So overall, based on like the size of the map and just how everything's laid out, I was not a fan of transit. So that's why I had to rank it 16 on this list. Coming at 15, Nuketown Zombies. So Nuketown Zombies, there isn't too much to say about Nuketown Zombies. I really like the visuals. Like we got Nuketown 2025 obviously in BO2 for multiplayer, and then we had the original Nuketown in Black Ops 1. Nuketown Zombies was laid out very similar in terms of the actual map layout, in terms of like the buses there, the car, and everything else is the buildings, the backyards, all that stuff is pretty much the same. A little different, but it pretty much looks the same, except the visuals are so much better though. So it's like takes place in like a zombie apocalyptic area, and there's like ash all over the place, and there's lava throughout the map that you can see, and just visually they did really well with Nuketown Zombies. In terms of actual gameplay, it is a difficult map. There are only two like really good places to train, so if you have 4 people, that could be an issue since the 2 places are behind both of the houses. But in terms of how this map is good, it's just the how everything looks in terms of how they plan everything, and the ash in the air, and it really does look like a stereotypical zombie apocalyptic type area. So I think they did really well with that. One of the things I really didn't like about the map though was the randomization of the perk dropping. So I think perks dropped every 5 rounds. They would drop randomly, so you could get like speed cola first, and then you could get like double tap, and you can get Jug last. So it could be like around 15 or around 20 before Jug even drops, which is completely random. It's all RNG if that happens, and I think that's a really annoying aspect because it can easily ruin your run if you're playing a 4-player squad and you get Jug like last or something, because you're probably going to die before that since it's only a 2-hit kill in that game. But overall, Nuketown Zombies was decent. It was really, really carried by how visually appealing it was. Number 14, I got to say it's Origins. I know a lot of people would rank Origins a lot higher on their list, but I wasn't a big fan of Origins. I think they did just way too much, and the map was way too big for my liking. It wasn't a terrible map. It could have been ranked lower, but I ranked it 14. It took so much time to get everything set up. It's like there were staffs, there was upgradable staffs, there was the shovel, there was the golden shovel. You want to get the golden helmet. You got to do all these different things to get the different things in Agartha, and to get all of the weapons like unlocked, and Pack-a-Punch ready to go. And there were just so many different things to get set up the way everyone wanted to get set up. So you knew when you were going like into that map with your friends, it would take like an hour to get everything set up. And once you do get all the staffs, you do get all the upgrades you needed, you get all your perks, it's like then the game just gets boring because it's so overpowered. The staffs are ridiculously good, and you can charge up the staffs and make them super good, and you can revive people like instantly, and there was just so many different things that you could do on the map once you got everything set up that it was just a little too much for me, in my opinion. And they just did it way too much. So in my opinion, that's kind of the downfall of the map. Plus, like, trying to get away from the zombies, like going through the mud was super annoying. There was mud like all over the map, and when the Panzer, the Bioshock person, dropped down, it's like if you're stuck in the mud, like good luck to you. Like the beginning rounds are so much harder, and then once the first Panzer dropped, that I think we're on like 7 or 8 or something. If you don't have a good guns, like it's pretty much over for you. So once you get past like the first Panzer and you actually get some good guns, then it becomes super easy. But in the very beginning, it's just ridiculously difficult with the Panzer and everything, and having to set up like the power and the different power cores or whatever those are called. So in my opinion, that's kind of what makes Origins not a great map. It did have a lot of good aspects to it, and I do think that the stats were a good addition, but I just think they shouldn't have been able to get upgraded, and I think it was just way too many things to do to get everything set up the way you wanted it to. And the different places to go, and the map was just way too big. That I think that's kind of where I thought Origins kind of fell off, in my opinion. But number 13, I gotta say, it's Verrückt. So this was the second Zombies map in the Call of Duty franchise, right after Nacht Der Untoten, and I thought Verrückt was decent. It was a very difficult map, I will say that. There are very few places to train in Verrückt. Verrückt was one of I think the most innovative maps ever, since obviously Nacht Der Untoten was very minimal, didn't have perks, didn't have power, but Verrückt changed that. Had perks, had power, had the bouncing betties, had traps. So it had a lot that they added to Verrückt, and I think that's what made it pretty fun and pretty amazing to play. And I really also like the concept that you would start away from your team. So if you had 4 players, say, or 2 players, half the players would start in one section, half the players would start in the other, but you would see each other through like the glass. So you would like still be in the same game, you'd still be working towards the same goal, but you wouldn't be able to meet up until you unlocked power, and then the gate would lift up, or the main wall would lift up, and then you could like go on the other side, and then you can play as a team after that. So I think that was a pretty cool concept and very innovative, and I really like the visuals of the map. It's very bright, very different from Nacht Der Untoten. Nacht Der Untoten was very dark, because took place pretty much at night, but Verrückt was very different in the fact that it was very sunny. It took place during the day, and the colors really just popped throughout that map. So I think Verrückt was pretty solid map, not great, but for its time, I'd say it's ranked about 13. So the next 3 are all Black Ops 2 maps, and I kind of want to just talk about these together. So Bus Depot, Farm, and Town, they're all kind of part of Transit, but they also are separate in terms of they are their own maps that you can play alone. So I'm just going to kind of talk about all of these 3 at the same time. So Bus Depot I ranked the best because it is a minimalist map. As a Zombies purist, I really like the smaller minimal maps that just take a lot of skill. You don't get pack punch, you don't get perks, you don't get Juggernaut. Just pretty much you get the mystery box, you try and get a good gun, then you just got to go right to training and try and kill as many zombies as you can. Try and live as long as you can with very minimal equipment. So I think that's something really what I liked about Bus Depot personally. And I actually did get really good at that map. I think I was in I got mid 20, I think like 23 or 24 was my highest round on that map, which was really good for a map without Jug or anything. I think back in the day I was ranked about 2,000 in the world for Xbox Zombies. And that's including a bunch of people who probably hacked the leaderboard and got like ranked 1 through 100 with like infinity rounds. So I think ranked 2,000 was really good, and that just goes to show how difficult of a map it was without any Jug. But that's what I liked about it. It was a challenge. If you didn't have a bunch of time, just play Bus Depot for a little bit, and it'll definitely be less than an hour game, even if you get to high rounds, because it just goes by really quick. The rounds go by quick. You're not going to save a crawler for anything. Everything's like right there. So I think Bus Depot was really fun. Farm was very similar, except it added perks. So there's still no pack punch, but you could use Jug, could use all the other main perks, but Farm was difficult because it had no places to train. It was really hard to train. I trained in the main area. This was a similar map. I think I was ranked 3,000 because I got to, I think, around like 41 or 42, something like that. So I was pretty high ranked on this map too, but there was just like no place to train. So helped out that you had Juggernaut, and that's kind of what made me get to a lot higher rounds and made a lot of people get to like round 30, round 40, something like that. But in terms of like how you can patrol the map and how you can navigate throughout it, it was really difficult and a lot harder than Bus Depot in that aspect. So I think That's why Farm was ranked a little lower than Bus Depot in my mind. And then Town kind of falls in the same categories here, but Town also added the Pack Punch. I didn't like it quite as much. I didn't like the layout of the map. It was a lot easier to train, but there was fire all throughout the map. Super annoying. The Pack Punch was literally in the middle of a bunch of fire, which I didn't like. So every time you had a Pack Punch, you had to just literally burn yourself. So I didn't like that aspect, but it also still had the mystery box, still had perks. So you could obviously survive a lot longer than Town, and it was really easy. You could survive a long time since there were good places to train. It was just annoying to try and navigate throughout the fire and stuff, but you could pretty much Pack Punch right away on Town. So that's why I ranked those 3 all in a row there. So bring us over to this row. So 5, we have 5 ranked at number 9. So 5 was one of the original maps of Black Ops 1, and I initially really did not like 5 at all. It was really difficult when I was a new Zombies player back in the day, and I just didn't like it. It was too hard for me. My friends weren't that good either, and our team just kept dying really, really quickly and early on. It's like couldn't even make it to the lower level, to like the doctor's quarters or whatever. So, but as I got better and as I started learning how to get into the Pack Punch in 5, I got a lot better and I actually started enjoying the map. So that's why it's on this side of the maps versus over here. So a few of the things I really liked about 5. I think the best thing about 5 was the Pack Punch room. So during on the DEF CONs, I really liked that whole system. It was pretty easy, and then having all the teleporters on the map, turn that Pack Punch symbol, and then you can jump in and then go to the Pack Punch room. The fact that the Pack Punch room is free from zombies, you get a good like minute or two to Pack Punch whatever weapons you want once you get in, and then as the DEF CONs start counting down, and then it hits 0, then the doors open, all the zombies are standing there, you and your team are with your Pack Punch weapons, and then you can just shoot them all and then kill out a whole horde that's waiting for you. So I thought they did a great job in setting up the whole Pack-a-Punch structure for that. I also like how the doctor is in the game, and then they steal your weapon, and then it just like slowly gets through every person. But the fact that you can kill the doctor before it gets to any person, then get the bonfire sale to make Pack-a-Punch only $1,000 per weapon, I think that was also a fantastic addition to the game. So obviously you would try and kill the doctor soon, and you usually could if you had like Winter's Howl, slow him down, you had the ray gun, have a few people shooting at him around the ring in the main area there. You could kill him relatively easily without him getting anyone's guns. So you can pick up that bonfire sale, get everyone to the Pack Punch, and then Pack Punch your weapons for only $1,000. So I thought that was also a good addition to the map. One of the things I didn't really like was how inconsistent the teleporters were. So the teleporters, you would try and navigate which floor you wanted to be on, if you wanted to get the box or wanted to revive someone on a certain floor, whatever it may be. It would be random whether it teleported you to the bottom doctor's quarters floor, the middle floor, or the top floor with spawn. So, and when you go to like, usually you didn't want to go to the top floor too much, there wasn't too much up there. So it would like usually teleport you up there, and then the teleporter took like 10-20 seconds to recharge. So you'd pretty much just be stuck up there unless you wanted to spend like $500 or 500 points on the elevator to go back down to the middle area. So that was kind of annoying. I didn't really like the teleporter system, and the fact that zombies could follow you right through the teleporter system was also kind of annoying. So I wasn't a huge fan of that aspect, but other than that, I think 5 overall was a pretty solid map. That brings us into number 8 on my list. So Shangri-La, this was a Black Ops 1 DLC map. It was the second DLC available for third DLC map available for Black Ops 1. I like Shangri-La. It was a really difficult map as well. So there was like no good places to train in Shangri-La. You just had to kind of move about the map and kind of just keep moving into different areas, move with your team. There wasn't really a good place to camp or train in Shangri-La. But I will say Shangri-La ranks this high because of its visuals. It is a beautiful map. It takes place in, I don't know, some Egyptian area with like a pyramid in the background. But it's like a nice sunny day, and I remember the map pack came out over the summer too, so that was kind of nice to connect those two. And I think just visually, I think they really paid attention to all the details of the map. And I think it was just a great map to kind of traverse and kind of explore, especially when I first got the map and I didn't really know anything about it. I think learning it and then just walking about it was really cool. In terms of the actual consistency of the map, like I said, it was very different. It was very difficult. The weapons on the map weren't great. There was the Baby Maker gun, which was I think the JBZ2Z or something like that. I don't know its official name. It was a weird name, but basically it turned the zombies into mini. You would like run over them, and then they would fly and die or something like that. I didn't really like that. I usually just let someone else in the game get it because it was kind of inconsistent. I remember you'd shoot them, and then they would like turn into babies, but then they would like grow back up, and then sometimes kill you if you didn't kill them in time, and then they would still like hit you sometimes when they were in their baby mode. So it was like, what's the point of that? So I wasn't a fan of the winter weapon of that map, but I would just like stick with like ray gun or galil or whatever else I could get on that map. But anyways, I didn't really need it. um, One of the other things I didn't like about the map was how difficult it was to open pack punch if you're playing with like random. So basically, to open pack punch, you had to stand on 4 stones or however many stones of people you were in the game. If you were playing a squad of 4, you had to stand on 4 different stones. And they were all throughout the map. You had to stand on them at the exact same time to open pack punch, and then run back to the beginning room. It was on a timer to pack punch your guns before it like basically kicked you off. It would like waterfall you back down. But you had to like talk to people to make sure, hey, let's all stand on this stone. You stand here, you stand here, you stand here, to get everyone to stand on it at the same time. So when you're playing with randoms and someone like doesn't have a mic or isn't listening, there's no possible way for you to pack punch in that game. So there's another game where it's like really trying to get you to play with friends, which is great, but you know your friends aren't always online. So sometimes you just gotta play with randoms. Or even if like one of your friends is online and you're playing with him, then you play with 2 other randoms. It's like, what if one of them doesn't have a mic? You can't pack punch in the whole game. So I didn't like that aspect about it. I will say the Easter egg was really cool on the map. I think it turned everything like it made like an eclipse. I only did it once, but I remember going through those steps. Was pretty cool. I'm not a huge Easter egg guy, but when I see a good Easter egg, I'll definitely give it praise where praise is due, and that one definitely had a good Easter egg. I thought the fire and tornado zombies though, I didn't think those fit the map. You know, I didn't like how I think they kind of add them last minute. They're pretty much like done with the whole map, and they're like, oh wait, we don't have like a boss on this. So they just randomly say, okay, let's just throw in a fire zombie. He just randomly rises from the ground. He walks really slow, and then he blows up if anyone gets close to him. That's too boring. Let's add another zombie. Just a random tornado zombie that runs really fast and screams tornado in your face. Let's make him really weak though, and let's make him die by like 2 bullets. It's like, okay. So I think they kind of like forced that a little bit on the map and didn't really make any sense. Especially since the tornado zombie is like a joke. He dies instantly. He like does no damage. He just kind of blurs your screen for a second. More of a nuisance. At least like the fire zombie is like difficult, but throwing those 2 in didn't really feel like they fit with the map in my opinion. So I wasn't a fan of those 2. I think those were kind of like forced in the map. And then I will say the only other thing I want to touch on was kind of the monkeys that would like grab the power ups and like change them. I thought that was a pretty cool aspect. I know I definitely utilized that to change a lot of carpenters into max ammos by timing it right when the monkeys are changing it. So I thought that was interesting, that they added those monkeys whenever a power up would fall on the map. That brings us to number 7, and I gotta say it's Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead, I'd say, was a pretty solid map. There were some bad things about it, although it was always snowing, so it was a big contrast to Shangri-La. I will say the visuals were pretty good in the lighthouse, and you could use the foghorn to kind of clear away some of the fog on the map. So I kind of like that. The VR-11 and the Scavenger were both really unique wonder weapons. I remember using the Scavenger was always so satisfying, both the sound it made when it blew up, as well as like sending a whole horde of zombies into a Scavenger bullet. It was so cool just seeing all those zombies vaporize. You could easily take out a whole horde if you wanted to. On the inverse side, I'd say the VR-11 was pretty cool. Something I used it for was pack punching the VR-11 and shooting your teammate. I don't think a lot of people knew this, but it would make their teammate invisible to the zombies for a decent amount of time. I'd say like maybe like 15, 20 seconds or something like that. So if your teammate goes down, you have upgraded VR-11. You can revive your teammate, shoot him. He can run to Jug, grab Jug, and no zombies will hit him for that short amount of time. So I think that's pretty cool about the VR-11. And then also, obviously you can just shoot zombies and turn them into agents. And then those the other zombies would just go for that. So it's kind of acts like a monkey bomb in a way. So VR11 wasn't great, but there were a couple kind of useful things to use it for. I'd say I was a bigger fan of the scavenger. Um, I'd say just some of the also I will say like the map layout is pretty good. It is definitely a big map, but it's accessible like pretty much from every part, especially when you're going over to like the boat area, kind of by where the power is. You can use the trampoline type thing to launch over to the other side of the map by PhD Flopper. So you can get to the other sides of the map pretty easily, as well as there is stamina up on that map, so you can run pretty fast. And then the map is accessible. So although it's big, it's accessible in a lot of different ways. And there's the zipline, top of the lighthouse, stuff like that. Plenty of doors to open, so you're never feeling like you're too far away from someone else if they go down. You can pretty much reach them from any part of the map, no matter where you are. I will say though, like the pack punch is something that's annoying. I hate like randomization and some RNG stuff that you can't control. So sometimes it'll pop up and then it'll just go under randomly and then it'll be gone for a couple rounds. Even though if you're wanting to pack punch, too bad you can't. I don't like how they did that in the map. And then also George was an interesting addition. The only thing I don't like about George Romero was when he got hit or he hit you, he would scream and he would freeze everyone on the map for like a second or two. And I remember I got down so many times. I know my teammates got down so many times from just being frozen there from someone shooting George or someone accidentally throwing a grenade towards him and he got hit by it. Freezes everyone on the map and doesn't freeze the zombies. So if you're in a bad spot or something, or you're about to get trapped but you could run away but George screams, you're going to go down from that. So I do not like how they added that, but otherwise I think George being in the game is fine. I like how he has a lot of health, completely fine with that. And then like cooling him off in the water when he does get mad, I think that was a good aspect too. And it is fun just being with like a team of 4 people and just everyone shooting at him until his light starts flickering that orange color and then slowly he starts to die. So I think that's pretty cool, and I'm not like mad George's in the game or anything. I just do not like how he screams and then freezes every player on the map when he does that. Bringing us to number 6, I gotta say it's Nacht Der Untoten. I know this is gonna surprise a lot of people. I'm a big zombies purist. I like the pure maps, like basic bare bones maps, and I gotta say like Nacht Der Untoten, obviously being the first ever zombies map, it's just the purest map. It really tests your zombie skills. You don't get perks, you don't get pack punch. You just get yourself, wall weapons, a mystery box, not many great places to train. Just see how long you can last with those few amenities on the map. And that's what I like about it. I don't have much to say. It's just, if you don't have a lot of time to play zombies and you just want to play a quick map, go to Nacht Der Untoten, test your skills. It's a 2-hit down, so good luck to you. Just do your best. Try and get the ray gun or something good from the mystery box. But if you can't, you're probably going to die pretty soon. But Nacht Der Untoten is really one of those tests to see how good of zombies players you are without power-ups and perks and all that. Just pure zombie skills. Just try your best. And I think that's what I like most about Nacht. And I think it was funny in the original World at War, Nacht Der Untoten, some of the wall weapons had like bipods attached to them. Like I know you could get the Browning I think had a bipod, but you couldn't use the bipod. So on the name of the gun, it was like bar with bipod or Browning with bipod, but you couldn't use it. You couldn't place the bipod anywhere to shoot zombies. So it was just something like, it was the first ever zombies map. They probably made it pretty fast and they just added that. Maybe they meant to, maybe they didn't really think about it too much, but yeah, you couldn't even use the bipods on some of the guns it had in the game. But I gotta say, bring us to number 5, Ascension. So this is where the maps get really good. So Ascension is a fantastic map. This was the first DLC map of Black Ops 1, and this is where PhD Flopper was introduced, which was a huge addition to the game. PhD Flopper made it so that you wouldn't take any explosive damage from yourself, so you could use the ray gun, you could use explosive, you can use the law, whatever you wanted. Primarily, I'd say people use it most for the ray gun and to take no fall damage. That was another perk of the perk, I should say, and the pro of the perk. So no fall damage, and you can also dolphin dive off high places, and then it would create a big explosion most of the time. Sometimes it wouldn't work, it'd be kind of inconsistent, but most people use PhD Flopper for the fall damage aspect, as well as like to use the ray gun. You could literally just shoot at the ground, or Mustang and Sally is another great example. Shoot at the ground if you're trapped or something, and none of the explosions would kill you. So this is a fantastic perk that kept in a lot of Call of Duty Zombies games after that. So I gotta say, PhD was a great addition, and that came on the map Ascension. Some of the other good innovations, this was where the Gersh devices were innovated. Basically, they're a monkey bomb alternative, but instead of just exploding, they would suck the zombies in, and you can also jump into the Gersh device. So that way it would teleport you to a random spot on the map. So if you're really far away, it wasn't a huge map, and that's another pro I like about Ascension. It was a perfect size map, but if you were kind of far away, maybe in the Stamina Up area or one of the landers, and you want to get to a different part of the map, throw down a Gersh if someone's like down in the middle or something, and then you'll likely teleport a lot closer to them if you use a Gersh device than if you had to run the whole way. They also introduced the Russian dolls, or whatever those are called, the Russian word for it. Those were pretty bad, I would say. I would say not to pick up those, especially if you didn't have PhD. They would create a pretty big explosion, and they could kill a lot of zombies, but they would like cluster bomb, and they could like kill you pretty easily if you didn't throw them correctly. So I usually stayed away from those Russian dolls and just always try to get Gersh devices. I really liked how they utilized Pack-a-Punch. So to open Pack-a-Punch, you had to go basically open the whole map and then use every lander, all the 3 landers. Then you had to launch the main rocket, and then finally Pack-a-Punch would open after doing all those tasks. It wasn't too hard, but it was like difficult enough to where you couldn't get Pack-a-Punch right away because that would be too easily. But you did have to like open the map and explore a little bit. It forced you to explore to finally get the Pack-a-Punch open, and then once it opened, it never closed or anything like that, so you could always just run right back there. So I thought that was the perfect balance of like making you explore the map, but it wasn't too difficult and too costly to open Pack-a-Punch. So really like how they did that. And then they also had the Easter egg where you can shoot the rocket down and see a huge explosion after you launch the rocket, and then you just shot with like a ray gun or a law or an explosive ammo or something like that. I thought that was a pretty cool little Easter egg they added there. They also added Stamina Ups as the first map that Stamina Up was added to, and like I said, Ascension wasn't the biggest map in the world, but it was still nice to be able to utilize Stamina Up if you wanted to use that. And there were plenty of places to train with a full team. So obviously PhD Flopper being the main training area, you can also train like next to the Pack-a-Punch room. That was a good one. I like to train over by Stamina Up. I think that was my favorite training spot. It was kind of like isolated there. I had the AK-74U, I had Claymores, I had that fire trap right there. So I was a big fan of training over there. But yeah, you could easily get a 4-player squad. Everyone has their own little area to train, and you wouldn't like step on each other's shoes or anything like that, or getting in the way of each other's trains. I will say I did not like the monkeys though. The monkeys that would steal your perks. So I thought that was so annoying. The monkeys itself were really hard to hit, really small, especially if you didn't have like a ray gun or anything and you had to use regular bullets. Like hitting the monkeys was really difficult in my opinion. And then the fact that they would jump on the perk machines and steal your perks, whichever perks you had, was so annoying, especially if playing solo. It's like if you had like pretty much or 4 perks on solo, like good luck trying to survive zombie or monkey rounds with 4 perks. So if you have 4 people, it's a lot more feasible, but without 4 people, like you could probably secure Jug, Quick Revive, since those are right next to each other, maybe Speed Cola. But if you had like Stamina Up or Flopper or something like that were like kind of far away from the main Juggernaut area, yeah, you're gonna lose those perks for sure if you're playing solo. So I didn't really like that aspect of it, but if they didn't have the monkeys kind of attack your perks, I think they would have been pretty good. But the fact that you really had to secure those perks, I think, were pretty annoying. And we'll also say the spawn room was really annoying with that thing that spun around, and that would like knock you down if you got hit by it twice. I didn't like that either. I think they could have just left that throughout the game. I know they want to try and innovate stuff, but that's just one of the things I just didn't really like too much about Ascension. Overall, obviously a great map. I was nitpicking at the end, but yeah, just a few of those things put it at number 5 for me. Coming in at number 4, Derise. So this was the last DLC map before that war. Fantastic map. So tons of innovations with this map. This is where we got the Pack-a-Punch machine. This is where we got monkey bombs. First map that we had teleporters. So a bunch of new innovations on this map, and overall it was a fantastic map because of these innovations. I mean, who doesn't love Pack-a-Punch? It's been like every Zombies map pretty much since Derise. So obviously everyone loved that, and I'm super glad that Dries was the first map to get it. Aesthetically, it was really cool. I like the eclipse kind of aspect of it. It looked kind of like apocalyptic and Dries, and there's like an undertone of blue in the air, and I just think they did the map really well in terms of the aesthetics of everything. The layout was also really good for the map, I think. I think it was not too big, not too small. Utilized like the teleport system to open Pack Punch, kind of like Ascension did with the landers. You had to use all three of the teleporters. Then Pack Punch would open. Pack Punch is in a nice and easy spot right there in spawn, so it wasn't hard to get to or anything like that. I think, but what I liked most, I would say, about Dries was the catwalk area and just camping there with the team. I have so many good memories of putting up bouncing betties on the catwalk and then just shooting the zombies off of the catwalk, throwing my grenades out the windows. And then when the zombies came up, we would all be on the catwalk and they would all be in a straight line, so we could all just like use our guns to just headshot the zombies really easily. And then there was the STG as well, right down at the bottom of the catwalk, so we can just pick that up, buy some more ammo whenever we need it or when the round was over or whatever, and then just get right back up on the catwalk. So I think the catwalk was a super good spot to just camp in Dries, but also there were a lot of other good spots to train if you didn't want to use that catwalk. So overall, Dries was just a fantastic map, and that's why I got to put it in number 4. So coming at number 3, going back to Black Ops 2 here, Mob of the Dead. So Mob of the Dead was obviously a great map, and I will not take it for granted. It was the second DLC map of Black Ops 2, and yeah, it was overall just a really good map. It was very big, but it was very well connected, and you can get to the lower docks. So I set Mob of the Dead in 3 different sections. First section is the docks at the bottom. Middle section is like the Alcatraz area, the jail cell area. I call that like the middle section. And then the top section is where like the top dog is. It's where we have Deadshot Daiquiri, and then the rooftop all the way at the top where the plane is. So that's kind of in my mind how I separate Mob of the Dead. And I think they connected all those parts really well. I think to get to the docks, you would usually use the gondola, which I think was like 500 points or whatever, so it's not too expensive. But you could also take the other way, where you would just run up the side, and then you wouldn't have to spend any money if you went that route. So I thought that was good that it gave you those options. And then just the overall layout, there were plenty of good places to train, to have a whole team over there to train. A lot of people would train on the roof. You could train on the docks if you wanted, or you can train pretty much anywhere. There were a lot of good places. You can even train on the Golden Gate Bridge if you really wanted to, which is where the Pack Punch is. But yeah, they give you a lot of good places to train, and even with a full squad, you didn't seem like you were restricted in that way. I mean, this was also the map that they gave you the Hell's Retriever, so the only map that actually, to my knowledge, in these zombies days, that gave you the Tomahawk or the Hell's Retriever, and I thought that was great. It had unlimited ammo, you can throw it as many times as you wanted. It had a small, I think 5 to 10 second recharge time, and you can also charge it up to make it more powerful. Then you can upgrade it to the Hell's Redeemer, which I wasn't a fan of the upgrade process. I thought it was pretty inconsistent with how you had to upgrade it, but overall it was such a good innovation, and especially if you ran out of ammo or something, just throw your Tomahawk, kill a bunch of zombies, and then just wait for it to recharge in a few seconds, do the same thing. You just keep doing that over and over if you really wanted to. And I will first say, Alcatraz was a fantastic decision to put a zombies map. I mean, it's such a creepy historic place. I mean, we all know like a bit of the history of Alcatraz, where like it was an actual prison on an island. You know, it held prisoners there, like really bad prisoners. So the fact that they turned it into a scene for a zombies map, I think was a great idea. And they just like put the ambiance perfectly. It was a creepy map, and the visuals were great, the graphics were great, the contrast was great. It was a dark map, so I think that was perfect for it. Overall, Mob just looked really well. And then it did have also just some other like type of Easter egg type things, like getting the golden spork was really cool, which was a one-hit knife until round 33, if I remember correctly, which is crazy. Like, what is the Bowie knife? Like a one-hit till like round 11 or something? So getting a one-hit weapon until round 33, I mean, obviously you had to do a lot of tasks, and it wasn't easy to get the golden spork, but just putting that in the game, I thought really was a great innovative idea. Same thing with upgrading the Tomahawk to from the Hell's Retriever to the Hell's Redeemer. I think it took a lot of steps, and it wasn't easy to do, but once you did, you got that upgrade, you got to charge it up 3 times, and I think that was really cool for them to add something like that as well. So Mom of the Dead just did a really good job in a few different aspects like that. I will say one thing that was annoying was I wasn't a huge fan of the Afterlife mode. So I think Afterlife would have been cool if you didn't use an Afterlife when you were down. So if they only used Afterlife to go to those Afterlife machines, then you could use an Afterlife at each machine. Maybe the machine could only be used like once per round. But instead of going down and using an Afterlife, you would have unlimited Afterlives, but the machines would just require a cooldown. So every time you went down, it was just normal down. You wouldn't have to like revive yourself in Afterlife or anything like that. I personally just thought that aspect was a little weird, so didn't really fit with the map in my opinion, and it was kind of annoying how you like go down, have to revive yourself a lot of the times, and then like be alone, because when someone else revives you, they're there to like kind of back you up and kill the zombies for you while you're gonna try and get Jug. But when you revive yourself, you're pretty much all alone. So I think they could have taken that out of the game. But still kept Afterlife in the game, but just taking the going down aspect in Afterlife out of it. So as every time you went down, you would just go down like in normal zombies, and someone else would have to revive you. But other than that, yeah, Mob of the Dead I think was a fantastic map, and that's why it's got to be ranked at number 3. All right, getting down to the top 2 maps. So number 2, gotta say Kino Der Toten, obviously a classic map. This is what kind of pushed zombies into mainstream gaming. I think World at War Zombies, I think, kind of grew the community. But then once Kino Der Toten came out, everyone saw the trailers for it. I think the community was really happy to get that, and a lot of people bought Black Ops 1 specifically for zombies. I know I did, and I think that didn't really happen with World at War. So I think Kino Der Toten really solidified that foundation of making zombies like a mainstream gaming thing versus just like an add-on, which I kind of feel like it was back in the World at War days. So Kino, there wasn't anything too innovative with Kino Der Toten from Der Rise. Like Kino still has the Pack-a-Punch, which Der Rise had. They had the teleporters, Der Rise had those. Monkey bombs. Kino wasn't new to that since that was in Der Rise. So there wasn't that many new things in Kino Der Toten from World at War Der Rise, but I will say the map layout was beautiful, and the whole stage setting was wonderful. Really creepy to have like the creepy stage and the creepy theater and all that, and the Nova crawlers and stuff. And I will say that also it's like primarily a darker map, but then you can, if you want a break from the darkness, you can go out to the alley and it's like sunlight and it's shining out there. So I think adding the alley and having that contrast of like kind of day versus like the dark side inside of the theater was really cool for Kino, and I think that added a lot to the visuals of the map. Then obviously they added the Thunder Gun, which they didn't have in Der Rise, so that's one of the big innovations of Kino Der Toten. Thunder Gun was so cool. Upgrading to the Zeus cannon obviously was amazing, and then being able to just have unlimited power in the Thunder Gun. It would kill zombies at any round. It would just blow them right away, and then it would give you all those points as well. So having the Thunder Gun, I think, obviously was fantastic for Kino Der Toten. And then teleporting to the Pack Punch was also really cool. So finally we get to Pack Punch where zombies aren't hitting you like we did in Der Rise. Since it was right in the spawn there, they could just jump up and hit you while you were trying to Pack Punch. At least in Kino Der Toten, after you use a teleporter, you would get your own room all to yourself. So I think that was really cool as well. And then there were plenty of great places to train on the map too. So wrapping up, getting into my number 1 map, I got to say it's Black Ops 2 Buried. This is my favorite map of all times, I will say, and I'll go through why it is. I know it's kind of controversial. It's not many people's favorite maps, but I'll just get right into it. So first of all, it's a great map size. It's a little smaller than average in my opinion if you take out like the whole maze and the Pack-a-Punch area, since you're not really going to be spending too much time over there besides just the Pack-a-Punch, and then you usually typically leave. So the main area, like the main town area, that's what I call the main part of the map, and that's a pretty small area. And I like smaller maps, so they don't get too complicated. You can revive your teammates if they go down close to you. I love that. Also, Buried is the first map that added perma perks. So primarily, like you had Quick Revive, you had PhD Flopper perma perk, you had the what else you had a Juggernaut perma perk. So and a few more. I think there was like a running perma perk too, stamina up type deal. But Buried was the first map that added all those, which is really cool that they did that. Buried is not a challenging map. I usually like challenging maps, as you can see by like my Nacht Der Untoten rank being up there, primarily because of its challenge. But Buried is so easy of a map, which is surprising why it would be up this high for me. But it is so fun that it negates the downsides of it not being too challenging. So like the Paralyzer, for example, you could fly around the map with the Paralyzer. It was so fun to do. Upgraded to the Petrifier. Never ran out of ammo. It would overheat after a while. Like it was kind of hard to make it overheat. You got plenty of usage out of it, and it would cool off pretty quick. So Paralyzer / Petrifier was so cool to use on that map, both to kill zombies and to fly around. And 94 was back. It wasn't in Mob of the Dead. It was initially in Die Rise. It wasn't in Mob of the Dead, and then came back for Buried. Amazing gun. There were some buildable traps. You can get like the Resonator, Trample Steam, Chopper. You could use those to camp and jug with a team, set it all up so they would all die, and then you wouldn't even have to do anything. And just another reason like the map was so easy, but it was also fun to set everything up like that. Voltrade was a new perk to the map, and that was really innovative. I like how you could get like the different ammo, the mini ammo drops, and the mini money bags from zombies that you killed. Also, you could see that like the different perks throughout the map. The green mist was kind of weird, that made you invincible, but besides that, I think Voltrade was a good perk. Witches were pretty cool, and you can get an extra perk from the witches if none of them hit you throughout the round or any of your teammates. I think that was a good addition. I really hated the time bomb though. Time bomb was such a troll. You could literally play with randoms, set a time bomb at like round 2 or 3 or whenever you get it. Get to round 20, time bomb backwards, and then you're back at round 2. I think time bomb was such a stupid innovation, and I really wish it wasn't even in the game because it could easily ruin the game for everyone. Ray Gun Mark II. Ray Gun Mark II was decent. Don't really have much to say on it. I wish it didn't have splash damage, though. It did have splash damage, and I think that was a mistake since the regular ray gun had splash damage, and I think they should have taken that away from the ray gun Mark II because I know I died quite a few times from that. Leroy, I think that was great. You primarily used Leroy to unlock different parts of the map. You would just have him run to the debris and he would break it. But he can also do like really good things, like he would lock the box for you, so the box would always spawn in that main room by Jug. And like the first thing everyone pretty much did on the map was have Leroy lock the box, so it would never move from that area since that's like the best area. It's a good area to camp. It's right next to Jug, so you'd have the box there all time and you just never get a teddy bear from it. Leroy could also like pick up a crawler if you wanted to. If you wanted to save a crawler and you wouldn't die, you could just have Leroy give Leroy some alcohol and he'll pick up a crawler. So you could use Leroy to do like a bunch of different stuff, and I think him being on the map was great. I really didn't like how they put the bank vault in the map. I think the map is already so easy. Can we like not have this influence from previous game into this current game by giving people pretty much unlimited money that they can just open the bank vault immediately for? Like I really hated that you could get like a bunch of money on round 1 pretty much from using the bank vault. So I wish they did not add that to the map, I will admit. But other than that, other than the bank vault, I think the map is very easy, obviously, like I said, but it's so cool, visually appealing, good contrast, fantastic guns, some good traps. You could get wall weapons. You could choose where you put those wall weapons. Paralyzer was a great addition to the game. I think just overall the map just had so many pros to it, not very many cons. And when I was making my list, I was like, what map can I say I got like pretty much never bored of, and I could play again and again and never feel like it was boring? And I will say Buried, I think, is the only map on this whole list where I could play pretty much over and over again. Or if anyone said, hey, want to play Buried today, I would always be down. I would always be recommending Buried. There were a lot of glitches I could do. If you've been with my channel for a while, I have a few glitches from like 10 years ago that I posted on Buried using the Paralyzer to get into the position. So I've been a big fan of Buried for quite some time now. ever since back in the day, I would be doing some glitches, and glitches were also a fun part of the map to fly to spots that zombies just couldn't hit you at all, and you could still pick up like power ups from and stuff like that. So I think they did a fantastic job. Treyarch did a great job on Buried. Definitely worth it, and I think I probably have the most hours played on Buried out of all maps. I wish I could find that statistic somewhere. I don't think it exists, but yeah, just Buried pretty much everything about it. It was just a good map, and one of those maps I never really got bored of. But anyways, I think I'll have to wrap this video up here. It's been an hour, so these are all my rankings, and I hope I explained everything really well. It took me quite a bit of time to get this list. I changed it a lot. I switched different maps around quite a bit. I will say Moon was always number 20th though. I never thought of moving that any higher. I hate Moon, and Buried I wasn't even sure if it was my number ones. Probably top 5 were all contenders of number 1. But in the end, after thinking about it, I will say, basically because of Buried never got boring to me. That's why it was my number 1. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for watching this whole video. If you did, it's been an hour. So anyways, if you have any questions or anything or want to talk zombies, let me know in the comments.